In the future, there will be inevitable situations where you will be in need of extra money. One way to get that extra money is in the form of borrowing. Borrowing money can be through a loan in a bank, a credit purchase, or borrowing from friends or family members. Borrowing money can immediately satisfy your financial needs. However, it can become harmful to your financial life in the long run. The different forms of debt will have different effects on your financial life. In order to become financially successful in the future, you will need to know what forms of debt are harmful to your financial success. Hi! Welcome to Grayson Finance. For today's video, I'm gonna share with you the types of debt that you must avoid. At number 1, payday loan debt. The majority of financial institutions that offer payday loans only talk about the good things from this kind of debt in order to convince you to take the loan. They are, however, only talking about one side of the story. Payday loans have a very high interest rate because they have a short-term repayment period. Payday loans are only due back in less than a month period and are always with the high interest. People who take this loan are in need of fast money because of unexpected situations such as medical emergencies. This type of loan, however, can easily take up half of your expected salary for the month as repayment. The repayment is usually automatically deducted from your paycheck along with the interest on top of your debt. Payday loans are very convenient, which is a big reason why people often opt to borrow money this way. Applying for the loan and being approved can only take you a few minutes or hours. However, since the interest rate is very high on this loan, it may present more disadvantages than actual benefits. For instance, you may be charged a whopping $20 for every $100 you borrowed. On top of that, you need to pay back everything in only a couple of weeks. If you're unable to pay back the money with interest in the given time period, you'll only have more and more interest added to your already high repayment total. Payday loans will most of the time keep people financially unstable. People who often borrow money through this method end up doing it again and again in order to make ends meet. With that, they will also be expecting very little money during payday because of deductions. While payday loans are easy and convenient, it is usually not the best solution for you. Instead of taking this loan, you can opt to borrow money from your friends or relatives as they charge significantly lower interest with longer time periods than payday loans. Number 2, auto loan debt. This kind of debt has a very high interest rate charged. It's very important that you know what you're getting into with this type of debt in order to evade it entirely. Let us help. When buying a car, you need thorough planning on what kind of car you need to purchase. Things like your budget, daily activities, and the space you have all come into consideration when purchasing a car. It's important that you only buy a car if you're 100% sure that you can afford to pay for it. If you don't have a plan, you need to make one quickly or forego buying in credit altogether. While getting a brand new shining car that smells and feels brand new gives excitement, especially when it's the car of your dreams, you should never have yourself in debt just because of one. Consider buying a cheaper car or a second-hand one if you want to avoid debt. A cheaper or older car will still function the same as a new car. One thing to always remember is to have a budget in purchasing a car. You need to know first how much money you can afford to pay for a car before purchasing any at all. Look for the most fitted car on the internet that suits not only your taste, but your budget as well. Research thoroughly on how much you will need to pay monthly before you make any decisions. Another tip is to never prolong repaying your debt. Pay off your loan as soon as possible. Having to prolong your repayment will only make you pay more. The lesser time it takes you to pay, the lesser interest you will need to pay up. Before you make any decision to put yourself into an auto loan debt, you need to first understand that expenses will not end after paying the actual cost of the car. You need to take into consideration the daily fueling costs and monthly or annual maintenance. If you think you can't afford to have these additional expenses, then you should think twice before buying that car. Number 3, student debt. Most graduates have taken a student debt to be able to get through their education. A lot of these graduates do not have a good plan on how to repay their student debts. Finishing a degree with low job prospects only makes repayment a lot harder. Having to pay this kind of debt right after college is a very difficult thing to do, and that's why you need to avoid this kind of debt. A debt right after college will put you in a very hard position with your finance. Student loans will hinder you to save up money for your own house, a car, or an investment. Fortunately, there are ways that you can do for you to be able to ultimately avoid heavy student debts. The first thing you can do is make a plan even before entering college. You may take jobs during high school and start saving up money for college. Having saved up money will enable you to reduce the burden of costs when you finally secure your admission. Another thing that you can do is to consider and get into schools that are not too expensive. Having yourself admitted into private schools will only have you pay higher than when you admit to a state university. Lastly, you can also cut your living expenses while you're a student. You need to be able to endure a frugal life during college if you really want to avoid yourself getting into debt. Make all necessary decisions to live a low-cost lifestyle. If living in your parents' house or sharing a room with someone else will help you save money, then do it. And lastly, at number 4, credit card debts. Credit cards are always convenient for every purchase. If you don't have the money at the moment but you really want to make a purchase, a credit card will solve that problem immediately. Most people, however, become so dependent on credit cards that they spend money more than they could really afford. Yes, credit cards are convenient, but if it's used carelessly, they can easily heavily hurt your financial life. Credit cards have very high interest rates that can go up to 27%. Having this much interest that you need to pay off on top of your debt can be very hurtful to your financial position. To avoid credit card debts, you will need to know the root of your debt to be able to eliminate these causes. Most people who become buried in credit card debt are people who don't have a budget. While few people may think that budgeting is unnecessary and a waste of time, a budget is actually a useful tool that can save you from heavy financial burdens in the future. When you have a budget, you'll be able to know if you're going overboard and spending money that you can no longer afford. With budgeting, you will also be able to plan out your spending on a monthly or even weekly basis. You can allocate the right amount of money to every category in your budget that you need to spend money on and eliminate all unnecessary purchases. If you want to avoid credit card debts, another way to do so is to not become an impulsive buyer. You may become tempted to spend on unnecessary things using your credit card because you are not physically holding cash. You don't see the depletion of your money with your very own eyes because you pay through just one easy swipe. If you want to avoid being an impulsive buyer, create a list of what should only be purchased. Do not live beyond your means and spend on things that you cannot afford. You can also opt to buy cheaper products in order to save more money. If you're already in debt and want to eliminate your debt efficiently and as soon as possible, always remember to pay off your balance on time. Delaying your payment would only make you pay more because of the growing interest. Being indebted will put you into an unfavorable financial situation. If you really want to become financially successful in the future, then you must avoid these forms of debt. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to press like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep you posted on new helpful videos.